Oh, hi. This is Digital Beersborn. Welcome back for more AP Art History. We're looking at the indigenous Americas, focusing on Mesoamerica, specifically Mexico. Today we're going to take a look at the ancient city of Yaxchilan. On your image sheet, you'll see 3 images for Yaxchilan. This structure, this one, and this relief sculpture as well. Let's start with the content. What we're looking at here is an ancient city. There are a number of buildings in this city, and they're all located on this specific part of land in this curving part of the Usumacinta River. For the ancient culture that built this city, the Usumacinta River was used for trade and for travel. This part of land would have been a special area where everyone would have seen it as they traveled down the river. The buildings are located on the highest part of this land. We use the term Acropolis, borrowing from the ancient Greeks. If you remember in our chapter about ancient Greece, we talked about the Athenian Acropolis. Acropolis simply meaning upper city. It's typically on the highest parts of the city where the most important buildings are located. The same is true for Yaxchilan. On this upper Acropolis, we see temples and palaces for kings. Let's take a look at the context. The city was built by the Mayans. The Mayans were an ancient culture that lived in this part of the world from 250 to 1697 CE. And their kingdom stretched across the eastern part of Mexico into places like Belize and Guatemala. This red area shows you the extent of the Mayan kingdom. And right here in the center is Yaxchilan. The palaces of many kings are located in Yaxchilan. And due to written records and artistic depictions, we have the identities of those kings, such as Bird Jaguar I, Yox Deer Antler Skull, Moon Skull, Shield Jaguar, or Bird Jaguar IV. The building that we see here was built under the direction of the Mayan king Bird Jaguar IV. Now let's discuss the formal qualities of this architecture. Perhaps the most notable feature of Mayan architecture is the large structure we see at the top of the building. This is known as the roof comb. A roof comb serves no structural purpose. It is simply decorative. Think of it as the equivalent of a crown or a headdress worn by an important person in a society. The roof comb is the crown of the building to signify the importance of that location. These buildings are covered in relief sculpture. What we see leading up to the entrances are staircases that take us to 3 doors leading into the inner chambers. Above each of these doors is a lintel. Lintel is a term that we've used before. If you remember the term post and lintel architecture, referring to the posts, which are the vertical parts to hold up a structure, and the lintel is the horizontal beam that lays in between. Above each doorway, we have a lintel. And in Mayan architecture, these lintels are covered with relief sculpture. The relief sculpture we see on the far right is the one that is on our image sheet, but let's take a look at a few of these to understand the significance of these lintel sculptures. On one of the buildings that we have a photo of, the lintel above the main door depicts the king himself, Bird Jaguar IV. Here we see the king wearing a ceremonial headdress and armor, holding a spear, and standing above a captive of an enemy civilization. Relief sculpture like this identifies the function and the patron of the buildings in Yaxchilan. On another building, we see depictions of a religious ritual. Like this. This is a depiction of a bloodletting ritual being performed by the wife of a king, known as Lady Zook. The king is depicted here on the left, and his wife, Lady Zook, over here on the right corner. What she is doing is performing a Mayan bloodletting ritual. The Mayans believed that religious rituals could be enacted through the purposeful loss of blood. By bleeding yourself, you could summon ancestral spirits, you could communicate with deities. What Lady Zook is doing here is she has extended her tongue out of her mouth, and she has cut a hole in the middle of her tongue. Through that hole, she is passing a rope that has thorns woven into it. As the rope passes through the hole in her tongue, the thorns slice up the inside of her tongue, causing blood to pour out of her mouth. The blood runs down the rope onto textiles, perhaps cloth or paper. In this lintel, the one we have an image of on our image sheet, we see the purpose of this bloodletting ritual. We see the impact that it can have. What we have depicted here is Lady Zook on the bottom right-hand corner. That same container of paper or textiles that have collected her blood down here in the center. And from it, we see this serpent emerging. This is an illustration that may make it a little bit more clear what we're looking at. Here's Lady Zook, here's the container with her blood, and here is the serpent that has been summoned through this bloodletting ritual. The serpent's head is located here. The serpent's jaws are wide open, and from it we see a human figure. This is a depiction of a Mayan god, a god of war, holding a shield and a spear. This god of war is making contact with Lady Zook. She is able to communicate with deities through this ritual of bloodletting. Lintel sculptures such as these, located above the doors, allow us insight into the function of the building and also the cultural practices of the Mayan people. And that is the ancient city of Yaxchilan.